Good evening. I'd like to call our Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting for October the 11th, 2023 to order at 6:35 p.m. A quorum is present. For our meeting tonight, we will start with our public comments. Non-agenda item public comments, the white cards, will be taken from the audience on non-agenda related topics for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Agenda item public comments, the yellow cards, will be taken from the audience on non-agenda and agenda items combined for a length of time not to exceed 5 minutes total per person on all items, except for public hearings. Comments on public hearing items must be made when the item comes before the board, commission, committee, and not to exceed 2 minutes per person. No action or discussion may be taken by the board, commission, committee during public comments on non-agenda items. For public comments, we have Mr. Robert Bataille to the non-agenda item topic of discussion, my concerns. And you have the 3 minutes starting now.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. My name's Robert Bataille. You are my favorite committee in town. Oh, wait, I'm just kidding. You're a commission. I'm just kind of joking with you. Sometimes things evolve in certain directions. It doesn't mean we started out with some sort of evil, malevolent purpose, but I think as our city has evolved over the last few years, Mr. Dunlap has managed to transform you guys into his personal committee. We don't need a liaison for the commission. The commission is supposed to be a quasi-independent function that's not really under the city as they are in their organization chart now. Now they're trying to be put in there with boards. A commission is not a board. I think the commission should be to the side with a dash line to say that we want input and interaction with the city council and so forth. But you're supposed to represent the citizens. What's happened is the City of Manor staff has taken over the control of our city. And they think they're doing a good job. But frankly, at the end of the day, they go home. They don't love us, okay? The city is really obsessed with everyone has to like everyone. I want to get things in our parks for people to do. I want to improve our roads. I want to get culture and museums and stuff here. And that does not seem to be happening. One thing I want to do very strongly, that's why I'm growing this stupid beard, is because I'm trying to protect and save Old Manor. Most people in our community don't even know there's a real person named James Manor that came west in 1832 with Sam Houston. That's the story, the two of them. We have very rich history, but we're doing absolutely nothing to involve and engage our citizens. So one thing about saving Old Manor that we have to do, and city staff is fighting us, we need to set up a design review committee, board, commission, something of that nature, to look at all these gross, ugly boxes they want to put in here and say, hey, that thing you want to put on top of the barbershop, that's an ugly box. We don't want that here. You make it look like the sanatorium or something historic. This is a historic district since 2017 in our codes. This is where the people that built this city lived. Right now, I think in the city council's heads, this is where the old poor black folk used to live. And we haven't bothered with them for like 50 years, so we don't need to start now. But we do need to protect this. This is the best neighborhood we have. I live in this neighborhood. It's fantastic. There's small, modest houses. There's yards. People talk to each other. We don't need to all live in identical boxes 10 feet from each other. And that's what the mindset of these money developers are.
Time's up.
Gosh, it went fast. I was just getting going. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bataille. I apologize. Next time we'll make sure to give you a
I think half an hour would be sufficient.
Before we move into our public hearing for agenda item number 1, I have one commissioner that would like to recuse herself, Commissioner Leonard, for the record. We still have a quorum present, therefore we can continue on with our public hearing for agenda item number 1. Conduct a public hearing on a rezoning application of one lot on 6.17 acres, more or less, and being located at 129020 Old Manor Highway 20, Manor, Texas, from agricultural A to townhome. I do have several people here to speak, and I will start with Julie Leonard. And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and give this. So thank you very much, Commission. I live in Bell Farms. We've talked about this 6 months ago. So this should be not new to you. This is the 4th time that these people have tried to build there, understanding that, we need something there, and appreciate that they have removed the apartments, but they really haven't solved the core issue. The core issues are that is a 2-lane road, right? It is parallel to 290. So a ton of people take it to avoid 290. There's no plans for that road to be widened or any improvements. The county has done none. It's unlike 973 that does have plans. It's unlike Lexington has plans. This road, no plans. And that's still the same as it was 6 months ago. Also, this is zoned neighborhood business at the front already. So it's not as if this is fully agricultural land. They could put a neighborhood business there right now. So there are options for them. And that's what the community wants. You'll see it very clearly in the petition that you've all looked at. You reach out to those same people. Nobody wants townhomes there. We have 200 homes building on one side and then another 150 on the other. So that's, probably more. So the traffic is going to get even worse. And now that they've put Ring all the way through, what happens in the morning is you have to hope to God you don't back into a car when you pull out of your driveway, because everybody's cutting through. Now they can't cut through Old Highway 20, so they cut through Ring and they go through. Yes.
Time's up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have James Keevy speaking in opposition of this item.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I oppose the building behind my house there. I echo the same points Julie made, obviously, and it's just not something that I see beneficial in any way, really, for my property. I've been here since 2006, since the original building, and I hope that it's been voted out enough times that maybe some other solution can be reached, along with many other improvements that should be made there before we put a multi-family apartment complex or whatever it may be in that location. Just wanted to note that I strongly oppose it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, I have Mark Thoman, who would also like to speak in opposition. And I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
You did.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Mark Thoman. I'm an abutting resident of Bell Farms, and I'm speaking in opposition to the rezoning of the lot at 12920 Old Highway 20 to townhome in excess of residential SF1 for the following reasons. The surrounding Bell Farms community, abutting 3 sides of the property, has in the last 15 years been zoned and developed as single-family residential. The current property owner, Samsung Properties LLC, is ignoring the precautionary position the original Bell Farms developer had of not purchasing and developing this property and 2 other adjacent properties in the development, allowing for a practical, realistic safety maintenance zone surrounding the underground pressurized hazardous petroleum products pipeline that crosses the property. And if you don't know, the Federal Department of Transportation has tracked almost 300 hazardous material pipeline failure incidents in 2022. This property, additionally, if rezoned to townhome instead of the like-kind abutting single-family, increases the density of the neighborhood it creates as proposed. It increases traffic counts on Old Highway 20, heavily overstressing excessive traffic circumstances on an underdesigned road, and would create a safety hazard by not having sufficient parking and full-scale city roads easily accessible by fire and life safety equipment to serve the future needs of its residents and prevent potential unnecessary spread of fire to the surrounding Bell Farms neighborhood. Lastly, the Manor Planning and Zoning Commission should deny this unfavorable request because it shows the obvious density additional revenue imbalance to the proposed developer at the expense of the citizens of Bell Farms and all the Manor residents, and potentially offers advantages to the developer for approval of future questionable zoning schemes for the adjacent property along Old Highway 20. Please, Planning and Zoning Commission, vote no for this request and the good Manorite fellows first. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mary Ann Thorman.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Thulman, and I live in Bell Farms also. I would like to express my concerns with this zoning change and have the Commission seriously consider each of these concerns before voting to either accept or reject this zoning change. The traffic on Old Highway 20. Currently, the increased traffic from the eastern area, the high volume of large trucks from the asphalt treatment plant, plus the added local area traffic have all contributed to the traffic problem. People traveling east to west on 290 now divert up Old Kimbrough Road to Old Route 20 to avoid the high volume of traffic on 290. Because of this, the road surfaces on Old Kimbrough and Old Highway 20 have become so deteriorated. Some of the areas of the road have become hazardous to drive on. Each of these roads are only 2-lane. Old Highway 20, we have been told in the past meetings, cannot be upgraded because it is a county road. Manor has no jurisdiction over this road. This would be the main travel road for this zoning change. The plan for the development is to use a secondary road as the second egress, which is Tinker Street, which is already an established neighborhood. Too many cars and trucks on an already congested roadway. Public safety is an issue and needs to be considered before a vote. The second is population density. Currently, this area is all single-family homes. This zoning change is a precursor to townhouses, which would be multi-family units, apartments, and commercial space with a 3-level parking garage. More people and less space, more cars, more traffic. The next thing is the pressurized petroleum line going through the property. How do we evacuate all the people in this area as well as the surrounding area if this has a leak or worse, an explosion of this pipeline? We only have Old Highway 20 and 973. Water. After this summer, water is a very real issue. This area has had water issues in the past. Some of the residents could not drink their water. It was brown coming out of the pipes. How will this affect the current resident property values? Can the Commission explain how a higher density and mixed zoning area? Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Kumar Savaitak.
You got it right. Respected everyone, thank you, Council, Commission. I'm in actually support of this zoning, directly or indirectly being involved in so many projects in Austin. In the Manor area as well as an investor. The density that is actually there, it's very less in my opinion compared to the single family that's there, and also privacy, safety. It actually helps the neighbors having a residence right next to a residence. in terms of future plans that I understand about this Highway 20 expansions in the text dot. Definitely for sure, state and city consider a lot of safety issues when they actually develop the road. In conjunction with that, I'm in support with that. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, we have the applicant here, Diane Bernal, of course, to speak in support. Yes. And there may be some questions from the commissioners as well.
Do I need to wait to the agenda
Go
item?
ahead, you can, if you wanted to share,
Okay.
and then we may have some questions for you.
Good evening, commission members. Again, my name is Diane Bernal. I'm the applicant and representative of the property owner. I just wanted to further update the commission that we did reach out to Bell Farms president of the HOA, and arranged a meeting and spoke with a few property owners who expressed their concerns and either positive feedback, mostly concerns, as you've heard discussed tonight before me. I did want to provide that we had representation from Tinker Street and Bella Parkway, Wedding Street, and Carillon Way attend the meeting. Only a few people signed up. We didn't require them to sign up for the meeting, but there were a lot more people at the meeting, and we wanted to convey to them that we are here to listen to what their concerns were and incorporate them if we could into our design. So I also wanted to clarify that this request is for the townhomes for 6.17 acres at the rear of the property. The front portion is a tabled item pursuant to the last showing, because we are awaiting city direction on a petition to change the future land use map. Again, I am in support of this townhome zoning at the rear of the property, as it is in line with your City of Maynard Destination 2050 comprehensive plan. And I would be available for any questions that you may have during the agenda item or now. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a few questions. So I know that, thank you for taking the advice from the commissioners to meet with the HOA about some of the concerns. What actions have you taken since the last time we met? Because it also sounds like, based off the oppositions here tonight, that there's still some concerns or some uncertainty that's going around the roadways and how this is going to be impacting the residents that currently live there.
Sure. No, I understand. And that was something that was expressed during that meeting too. The previous, the property, adjacent property owners are correct. That road is under Travis County jurisdiction, and we have reached out to, at the time it was Daniela Guthrie with the Travis County Transportation Department to do a joint scoping meeting with the transportation engineers, because we want to make sure and incorporate any improvements that they may recommend into our plan. We want to make sure that that's on the same page as anything that we push forward as far as development and subdivision is concerned. We want to make sure and reflect those in any plans that we provide to the city for review. So the major thing was the increased traffic, and I honestly don't know how to respond to that. Any development is going to provide increased traffic, and it will be up to us to meet with the responsible jurisdiction and discuss the development and how many trips we will generate. Right now, the consideration is just for townhomes, but when we approached them, it was for the retail development. So already we're lessening our initial request to them, because we had originally wanted apartments on the retail portion on the front part, and we have since removed that and kind of gone back to the drawing board, so to speak, on the front portion. But again, this consideration is just for the townhome zoning at the rear of the property. And I think I heard pipeline concern. That's a major concern wherever there are pipelines into the ground. I've developed several properties that contained a natural gas transmission line, and we've always worked directly with the owner of the pipeline and made sure that we listened to the development guidelines that they have. They have a review procedure that we have to follow with them too. We have to make sure all our engineers are on board and okaying the plans before we submit to them. And then they conduct their internal review, and if the city would like, we share that information with them too, but that's a separate review from what the city requires. We, of course, have proposed townhomes outside of the easement that is recorded and shown in county record. So no structures are proposed anywhere near the easement. It's very close to it, but not on top of it, not encroaching it. We're not allowed to do that. We have roadways which are allowed, lawns which are allowed, proposed in the easement areas. So. And the other thing was the water issue. We are speaking with Manville to see what their current status on feasibility requests are. They just recently released the moratorium they held on feasibility inquiries into service by Manville Water Supply Corporation. So we're pending information from them. Did I cover all of them?
So, and I know this is, like you've already said, the $1 million question. That old Highway 20 is I known it for 40 something years, and it's always been that way. But I do see something that, you know, on one of the diagrams that we have here, are you going to connect to the streets that are already in the next neighborhood? Is that correct?
So what we were approached with doing was providing a secondary fire access to Tinker Lane. So yes, we probably would request an access to the public right of way of Tinker Street. The resident, that actually is one of the things that the when we had our neighborhood meeting that they expressed concern with. And so what we offered, or what was suggested during the meeting, was a gated access, and property owners fine with doing it that way. We just need to make sure that that's clear with the fire marshal and the fire department, that they'll allow that. And that's a typical thing that they will allow. They just put a Knox box on there, and that's our secondary access. Our primary access is going to be off of Old Highway 20. Right now there are 2 access points, and those will be removed. And the new proposed entryway will be according to Travis County's jurisdiction rules on driveway distances.
Mandy, can you show the back up so we can see the diagram of the lot to look at the road access? So you're saying that you can go back to the. So you said that there will be 2 access points from.
If you want to go to the concept plan, keep going. That one right there. So you can see the secondary access right there is Tinker Street. On this plan, it's on Plan North, and then the primary access is going to be to Old Highway 20. We have to have a secondary access for fire. That's one of their requirements.
The agenda item is for only the back portion. Is it your plan to construct the townhomes without immediate access, or are you waiting for approval of the front tracks before you would build it?
We are waiting for guidance from the city to be able to petition for a future land use map amendment, in hopes of continuing that NB zoning that's already there across the frontage, so it can have full access retail. At that point, then they'll move forward with the construction.
But potentially this could be completed out before there's an actual access to 20.
We will provide access. We are required to provide access to Highway 20.
Permanent or temporary?
It will be permanent. And it will have to be reviewed by Travis County and, of course, City of Manor staff. I think Pauline wanted to make sure she was involved in the traffic study that will be required for this development.
Are you planning to seek a different zoning for track 2?
Just what was originally requested in B, which is just a continuation of what's already there along the frontage. Yes.
And what's the total number of units that you plan to have?
47.
47. And so they're all townhome style?
Yes, in units of 4 or more. Yes.
I'm sorry, the last.
In units of 4 or more is your code requirement for townhomes.
So during your meeting with the HOA, what particular concerns were you able to address in your plans coming out of that meeting?
The multifamily. That was immediately something that the property owner was willing to not pursue. Multifamily would have been higher increased density than the townhomes were already proposing. So that was something that they were willing to remove from the plan. So that would deal with your increased density and additional traffic counts.
Okay. Has there been any environmental surveys already performed on that property to kind of see what the feasibility is to build or develop on that track?
I believe so. I haven't looked at the history of the file. I think when they first submitted, maybe that was included in the request. I will have to double check. Is it okay if I get that information back to you?
Yeah, sure.
I'm pretty sure there is. When the purchase of the land, that's usually part of the requirement as a phase 1 assessment on the property.
Okay. And so do you have a list of upgrades to the current infrastructure that you are planning on implementing with this plan here?
We would need to meet with Manville in order. Are you speaking with water or which kind of infrastructure?
So yeah, all the utilities, not just the water.
Yes. If we are successful with the zoning, we will push forward with the communication with all the utility companies and tell them, okay, we're moving forward with this. We need to meet with you to further see what is required to develop this property.
Okay, so nothing yet.
Manville has kind of delayed us.
And just a reminder from the, you said your first initiative it was a multifamily. Was that like apartment style or?
Yes. So this townhome portion has always been the townhome portion. The previous request had like a mixed development where they had retail on the bottom and apartments on the upper levels.
Okay, thank you.
So also to verify that the future land use map has not been updated for this designation?
Not for NB, but for townhome, it is an allowable zoning request.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. The on the comprehensive plan on the future land use map, this area is shown as neighborhoods, which is single family, 2-family, small apartments, as all sort of acceptable types of residential uses. Adding commercial into that kind of kicks it up to either neighborhood mixed use or community mixed use. And because the comprehensive plan doesn't have that, this area is designated as that. That would require a future land use map amendment, which that process has been approved, but on the staff side, we haven't finalized the applications and internal processes for doing those types of amendments. So the request for townhomes, as was mentioned, is consistent with the comprehensive plan, but the commercial aspect of it that was in the previous request isn't.
And of the, this is only showing the back part of the 6 acres. Is the same owner of the first 4 acres in the front?
Yes. So it's the total property is 10 acres. And so the back end is the 6 acres proposed for townhomes, and the remaining 3 acres is proposed NB. But we're still waiting on guidance on that.
Okay.
And it's, yes, one owner.
And again, just a reminder, question or refresher. On Tinker Street, you said that has been approved to add that access point.
We would have to go under review with the city of Manor and the fire department. I have talked to Brian, I'm sorry, with the fire marshal in this area, and
The chief.
I just from a development standpoint, a secondary access for residential design is always required. For commercial, we can get away with one access. As a matter of fact, they push one access on commercial aspect builds, but for residential, they want a secondary way out. And we're willing to restrict that access for specific fire only, because that was a concern, again, addressed by the neighborhood meeting that we hosted.
All right. And to say that this would go forward and your plans successful, what are the medium price for these townhomes that you're looking at?
Oh, that I don't know. I'm not the person that would answer those questions in this design group. I apologize.
Okay.
I know the end goal that I hear during our meetings is the working families.
Yeah, I was just trying to find what your definition of the working family is to know it there.
Understood.
Was single family ever considered for this tract?
No, and to give a little bit, I don't want to say clarity, but single family had a higher price point from what I understood. Even though I'm not the numbers person on that side of it, it was just going to be more expensive to buy than the townhomes proposed would be.
Okay, so for my edification, your previous visit here, what's really the main point that I need to take that's different from the April timeframe until now?
That we would like to continue with the townhome push on the back end of the property. We feel it is in line with the City of Manor's Destination 2050 comprehensive plan. We meet several policy statements found within the guide or the comprehensive plan, and we feel that this development will help push those on behalf of the City of Manor. A lot of them had to do with effective design and more compact design and walkability to adjacent retail, which we have the opportunity because there already is a portion zoned for retail, so we know that will be retail at some point. And we're giving the ability for not only our development to have walkability to that, we're giving the adjacent Bell Farms subdivision access to that too by providing walkable areas to get to that retail.
Okay. And so what was behind the phasing of this instead of doing with the business aspect, to help along with your justification of walkability and retail with the residents neighboring there, to kind of add that, that initial push instead of or in lieu of, more homes?
I'm not sure I follow. So the intent of the push for just the townhome portion of it is just because we're waiting on a city's mechanism to request an amendment to the future land use map, because currently the zoning that we're requesting to continue the retail component of it is not allowed. It's not favorable in the City of Manor's comprehensive plan. So we want to observe the city's requirements for any map amendment that we would need to propose in order to make that something that would allow the NB zoning.
And I have a question for Scott. So Scott, with our comprehensive plan, the 2050, how does this multifamily fits into the ratio of what the plan that we have moving forward?
The
So-
multifamily is the townhomes, or
Yeah, so what's the plan? We are looking to have multi-density and uses within our city. How does this add up? Will this put us over a multifamily? Will this put us below with the townhomes? Where do we stand part of our 2050 plan?
The comprehensive plan doesn't provide like a number of, types of units. It just provides the recommendations for a range of housing types. And within the neighborhoods, that's the least dense sort of housing type we have. So again, it's like single family up through like a fourplex. So you have your townhomes and duplexes and single family and different lot sizes within single family. And that all encompasses neighborhoods, and the majority of the city and DTJ for future planning are designated as neighborhoods. So it's pretty consistent with sort of how the city has already been growing. And then the future land use map includes pockets of, neighborhood mixed use, community mixed use for those, larger scale apartments, and then of course all the commercial and industrial areas. But again, there's not a set number. One of the backup items kind of shows you the dashboard for neighborhoods, and it kind of gives you a percentage of what's recommended as residential types. And so single family detached would be 70%, and then single family attached is 20%, and then small multifamily is 10%. So you can maybe extrapolate that as in terms of all of the city, what's designated or could be designated as neighborhoods. The majority of it, 70%, would be single family detached, and then 20% of that is single family attached, which is what townhomes would be.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's the way I understood the backup. Just wanted to see how this fit in that plan. Any other questions for our applicant? Thank you. Is there a motion on the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing on agenda item number 1.
I second it.
It has been properly moved to close the public hearing for agenda item number 1 by Commissioner Chavez and by Vice Chair Pius. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Leonard has rejoined. And we will continue on with our public hearing for agenda item number 2. Conduct a public hearing on a subdivision short form final plot for Riata 4 subdivision, 1 lot on 19.69 acres, more or less, and being located at 10507 East Highway 290, Manor, Texas. There were no public comments or hearing for this. No one signed up to speak. You want to provide some background, Scott, on this?
Sure. So this, let's say for Riata Ford, they purchased that auto mechanic that was right in front of them. There was the M&M auto. And so this plat just combines the former M&M lot tract into their larger Riata truck. So it's just one larger property.
Any questions? Is there a motion on our public hearing?
I make a motion to close public hearing item number 2.
Second.
It has been properly moved to close agenda item number 2 by Vice Chair Pius and second by Commissioner Chavis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to our consent agenda, all of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the Planning and Zoning Commission and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless requested by the chairperson or a commission member, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Agenda item number 3, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the minutes of September 13th, 2023 P&Z Commission regular meeting. You should see a copy of your minutes that was printed out or by email.
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second it.
It has been properly moved to approve our consent agenda item number 3 by Commissioner Leonard and second by Commissioner Pies. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. For the record, our Commissioner Leonard will recuse herself during the regular agenda item number 4. A quorum is still present, and we can continue with agenda item number 4. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on a rezoning application, 1 lot on 6.17 acres, more or less, and being located at 129020 Old Highway 20, Manor, Texas, from agricultural to townhome. We've had a lot of discussion on this topic tonight. One of the things that I have from the city recommendation is recommending to approve. Just wanted to see, Scott, if there's any background or any concerns that the city has that been brought forth from April to now to continue to move forward with this.
No, there hasn't been anything between April and now, other than obviously the removal of the neighborhood business. But we are recommending approval. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Tinker Street was stubbed out to connect for future development. So that's appropriate for them to connect to that road. Part of our development regulations is buffer yards. So as a common lot townhome development, so they're, it's one lot versus 47 smaller lots with public roads. It's all private internally. There's a 25-foot buffer yard that's required to go around it with a 6-foot opaque fence and evergreen trees they have to plant in order to screen the development from the adjacent single family. There is an existing also 25-foot drainage swale that goes around the property. So it further separates it. That buffer yard isn't part of that drainage, so it's 25 for drainage, 25 for the buffer yard.
So is that the perimeter that you're showing there with the trees? Like, it looks like there's a separation. Oh, that's just drainage. Where would the fence be?
It would be usually it goes on the property line, and then you have your evergreen tree plantings. We stipulate there's to be 4 for every 100 feet and 15 shrubs. Again, that just sort of obscures the view of the development from the adjacent single family and kind of buffers some of the noise if there were any. But that gets worked out on site design and how they lay out their site. So it'd be one of the main requirements, given the compatibility between single family and the slightly denser townhomes.
Do we by chance on the developer know the height of the townhomes? Or approximately?
So two floors, so 20, 25, 30 feet.
25 to 30 feet
25 probably the max, actually.
max feet. Okay.
The max is 35, which is the same for single family. You know, the development standards in terms of their bulk, you know, the height and stuff, and the size of them is pretty equal to a single family. It's just that they're attached. So.
And is there any intention to have a balcony on the top floor for the townhomes? And I'm sorry if you don't mind coming to the mic. Is there any intention to have any balcony on the second floor? And can you speak to the mic for the recording and for the video?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Not to my knowledge, I think right now they're just focusing on the patios and stoops in the front and backyards. I don't believe that they're going to offer any upstairs balconies. Sorry.
And I know there was a question earlier about the price points. So is this intention to be a purchase or these are rental properties?
That's gone back and forth about being rental properties and or for sale units. They're still kind of debating that, depending on if we are able to move forward with the townhome zoning. That's something that they're still deciding on what to do.
And so I'm assuming that if it is a rental property, that there's going to be some type of control, such as like a apartment complex or HOA type standards that they would have for the property.
Right, because there's it's one lot and the owner owns the entire lot. He will establish, I'm sure as part of the subdivision requirements, public property owners association that would oversee the landscaping requirements as necessary and any infrastructure like the roadways to make sure that those are well kept and according to city manners code. So yes, short answer, sorry.
And so the max height for a single family home is 35 feet. Do you know how high the trees that they're planning to grow or?
I think the code requirement is evergreens. So I'm not too sure how tall evergreens go. I know medium and large is the requirement that we to plant.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know how tall they get. I would imagine.
There's a list on our website for the preferred plantings of the type A, which are the large trees, and type B, which are the medium trees. I think type A, I don't know if it necessarily speaks to the height of them, but they end up with, I think, like 40-foot canopies kind of going around. And medium trees are more in the 30-foot range. But yeah, the height isn't, I don't necessarily specify that. It probably varies by species. But with the requirement, it's aiming to, have large enough trees that it is an effective screen. So you wouldn't be planting like crepe myrtles or, holly bushes necessarily as your large trees. You have a shrub requirement as well.
Okay. And I know that you said that single family homes is not considered, but if you were to use the single family type homes, how many units do you think you would probably put, or this area about 20, 25?
Maybe. I don't recall exactly what the minimum lot requirements are for a single family. But I know that just wasn't a consideration during when I received the project.
SF2 is 60-foot lot width, and SF1 is 70-foot lot width. And then they would have 50-foot public right-of-way through there because each lot has to front on a public right-of-way because the lot is too small to do a PUD. And PUDs, you can have private streets and handle it sort of as the way this townhome project is proposed. but they would have to dedicate public streets and do all the public infrastructure. All the water lines and wastewater lines and storm sewers internally would be public. So
Yeah, my rough math told me about 2024, but because we are in a, listening to the public and representing the community, we are hearing the concerns that they have with those existing roads. Luckily, I don't live on that side of town. I don't have to deal with it every day. But when I do go, it is an inconvenience, and I understand putting myself in their shoes for just a little bit of that time. So, and I know it's not much, but I did consider if it was a single family home, then that'll be maybe 20 more cars that would be left off the street, basis off the having the 47 units. So, just some of my thoughts that I've had doing this.
So did the thought of this particular development, has it changed, or how has it changed? I think previously you just kind of spoke about single family, and now it's townhome. Is there an alternative to this?
It has not been single family since I've become involved. It's always been a townhome development at the rear of the property to help buffer to the proposed retail at the front of the property. The element that has changed is the removal of the multifamily. It is something that we did want to do. That was kind of our idealized plan. But again, when we met with Bell Farms HOA and property owners, they weren't in support of that. And that was something, again, he was willing to let go in order to keep the townhome, so to speak. I understand there was a previous submission before me that also included the townhomes, and they had a much greater density proposed. So maybe they used more land, but I think their proposal was like 70 some townhomes, and we decreased that quite a bit with our proposal. This just seemed to flow better as far as design layouts, and then of course it's going to be modified as we move forward into the subdivision and site development planning for the site. So it's already lessened density than what we were originally coming to you guys with the original submission on my behalf.
Were there some suggestions from the HOA of what this piece of land could be in comparison to townhomes?
Well, in difference to what was spoken here previously by other property owners, the ones that did attend, there were a few here that did also attend that, and they're very, very consistent with their concerns, and that is appreciated by us because we still need to hear that from the adjacent property owners because there are neighbors. We need to incorporate, nobody wants to be a bad neighbor or a bad steward of the land. What they did suggest is that they wanted for sale units versus rental property. So that's why that's still up in the air. And they were generally in support of townhomes at the rear of the property, and they were more concerned with the retail. And they kind of gave us a list, anecdotally, they gave us a list of things they did not want to see at the retail portion of it. I would love to share that with you, but that's not really what we're on the agenda for tonight. Actually, I was going to mention it, but
I think I would like to know because honestly, I don't want to, vote in a vacuum of things and really look at it in a comprehensive manner. So to know like what their concerns were, not only for that particular tract, but the entire area,
yes,
is very beneficial.
Yes, absolutely. So they did not want to see any smoke shops or liquor stores or similar retail of that nature. And so the property owners, when they established the Property Owners Association and respective restrictions, they will make sure to include items like this in their restricted or prohibited uses. That way it's in a formalized document and there's no question further. Those were the main things that they didn't want to see. They also gave us kind of a few short ideas on what they wanted to see there. One being a daycare center and just local retail that would be in line with the surrounding neighborhood and future development across the street. They really just wanted to see something they could walk down to, go back home, or drive if that's a possibility. I have said that it's going to be a gated Knox box situation, and I don't see that will be an issue with the fire department. But because it hasn't gone under formal review yet with the city and the fire department, I don't know if that's something that will be not require a Knox box. We will ask them to do it because it was a concern expressed to us from the HOA. And again, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't happen.
Okay. And so from seems like the backup information kind of gives a more detailed story too of kind of the history. So a portion or maybe the full 10-acre tract was requested to be rezoned townhome and neighborhood business. And that was denied, and then kind of went on to mixed use, and then kind of further along in April, maybe another portion, a smaller portion of that 10 acres. Now the 6 is being considered for townhome, and so as a part of this entire kind of journey, there's one portion in the front that's still agriculture, right? And so in the future, is that the plans to come back and to ask for a change in that particular property to another part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So the the plan since April, after we were shelved because of the NB zoning is not an allowable zoning category underneath the future land use map. It's just, that, as Scott was mentioning earlier, it was designated as neighborhoods. So what y'all did at the time was shelve it until we could have the ability to petition for a future land use amendment to allow NB along the frontage, which would be that 3 acres that you're speaking of. The push was to have retail along the frontage.
Thank you. So maybe it's more of a comment than a question, but if moving forward and this track is rezoned to that portion, we still as a commission don't have any commitment of any particular upgrades of infrastructure of the road system from the county, or any of those implications is still in its current state. Is that a correct statement? And that's to the applicant, or that's to Scott? Either one.
Yeah, there aren't plans that I'm aware of from the county for anything on Old 20 right now. And then in terms of water, wastewater, drainage, I mean, the water is Manville. I mean, they'd have to decertify from Manville to get city water, which is feasible. I mean, the city has a 12-inch line on Ring Road, but there should be sufficient water from Manville. They were having some capacity issues this summer, but I think they've worked those out. Wastewater, we have existing wastewater facilities there, and this has all been planned in to the upgrades to the lift stations that are over there. And so the wastewater development on this property is already, like I said, included. So there shouldn't necessarily be line upgrades other than tapping into the system.
And Scott, if we look at the backup when regarding the roadways, I don't know if this is a typo or just asking for clarification regarding the statement that says there is a one-way driveway connection to Old Highway 20 and one driveway connection to Tinker Road Street. But on the drawing, we saw 2 access points from Old Highway 20 and a possible of having the Tinker Street. So which one is correct?
So I was just saying there's one driveway like onto Old 20. So they may be internal drives, like 2 of them that head that way, but there's only one on Old Highway 20, and then there's the one connection onto Tinker. So those are their 2 access points that would be required for fire.
So the one that is, I guess, more east is not access point. Is not an access point.
It is. That would be the main one. That's the one on Old Highway 20.
It's an existing driveway that we would remove with the development. You're talking about the one.
I'm sorry. Can you?
My apologies. The one plan north is an existing driveway. There, right now, as the property stands, there are 2 driveway entrances to this lot. When we move forward with development, I know we will be asked by Travis County to remove one of the driveways, and it's going to be that one to the north.
And why do you think they will make that recommendation?
We would have to meet their driveway distance requirements into the lot.
So with the distance requirements, that means by widening the space, right?
Yes, I have to be a minimum distance from existing driveways, and since I already have 2, they will tell me to get rid of one of them, and we'll make sure that the one that we are proposing is at their very minimum at a distance, the distance required for that speed limit of that on the roadway.
Okay.
So they will not allow me to have 2 driveway access onto Old Highway 20.
There's this driveway to Highway 20, though, is across a development that has not been rezoned, and we don't have a definitive plan. So if those plans change, then what does that do to the driveway?
So if it's a Travis County project, is that what you're telling me?
The internal drives that you'd be connecting from the townhomes to Old 20, if the plans change and you had to modify them, would you be able to accommodate modifying those driveways and still maintaining like the 2 points of access so fire was met?
Yes. Yes.
So what's the minimum distance between the driveways supposed to be?
It will be according to Travis County's determination. The speed limit on that road, I believe, is it 45?
I'm not sure what's the speed limit on there. Kind of looks on the plans, I guess, to be
It's
maybe
thank you.
like
So it's
150 or something. That's on the plans, 150 feet.
right, and so our minimum distance would be I believe it's 120, 180. I'm sorry, I will need to look that up to know the exact distance, but it's I know TxDOT's like the back of my hand, but Travis County's is a little bit different, and I know a few other jurisdictions have modified to TxDOT's requirement, but Travis County is different. I want to say it's 120 feet. That may not be correct though.
Okay.
Between it's 50 miles an hour on the road. Okay, so that's a greater. It's like 300 feet then. Yeah.
300, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the linear feet across that area from on the 10 acres, the total front acres? You know about how many?
The lot width.
Yeah, the lot width that goes this way. On the road, on the actual Highway 20.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. And I don't think I can read my map here.
Me either, so.
About 412,
Yeah,
415 based on the survey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If no other questions, I will entertain a motion.
I have one comment. So I needed a clarification on this as the process. So until and correct me if I'm wrong. So until this this agenda item is voted on, and let's say it does, and the rezoning happens, only then is when you can have this conversation with the county on any roadway infrastructure upgrades and what's the plan on that? Or can you do that before and that information be relayed to the commission? Because my concern is, you can come and stand up too. My concern is not knowing what that traffic implication is and what's the future of the old Highway 20, adding more development, regardless of what it is a concern to the residents and those that commute along that road every single day, right? And so being able to have that communicated, to everyone, so that, hey, if it's something that's going to be done in 5 years or 2 years, and what is that exactly, or what is projected out there, can help along with any of those developments to make sure that the developers and the city and the counties are all working in sync, and that the residents understand what that picture is.
Sure. No, I understand. No, we can go at any time to talk to Travis County. We were waiting for zoning to be approved before we did approach them. The traffic impact analysis is basically what you're talking about right there. is past the scoping meeting that is happening. It has happened for the site. And what we originally approached them with was the townhome development at the 49 units and multifamily and retail. So even we would still need to modify that to show a lesser impact for trips that we would generate from the development. But we could, in theory, go at any time to get that clarified with them and revise the scoping and move forward on a TIA. But the TIA is usually not required until the site development portion. I don't know if staff requires it during the subdivision process.
Yeah, I mean, looking at a TI is good. I think that's, really more so contained within your development scope, right? And what additions are added to the arteries that you're leaving out. But more so not of the survey that you would do, because that's your own due diligence, but what information, speaking with the county that they have in regards to the total, plan for that roadway. That's my question there.
I can always request that information from them, but if I don't know specifically what the permits are for development on the across a way, then I need to, of course, request that as a Public Information Act, and that just takes a little bit of time. Which, if it is requested, I definitely don't mind doing that, pursuing that.
Okay, and so just for verification of the question is that it will happen sometime in the future on that conversation, and this is not something that has happened already to provide more information or clarification to the commission.
Correct. So the TIAs are generally required during site development process, and we are not at the point to be able to begin that.
Okay, thank you.
If I may,
That did not answer the question, but
yeah.
okay.
I mean, as a 47 unit townhome development, it probably won't even trigger a TIA. Their prior development likely did because of the retail. Commercial generates far more traffic than residential does, like magnitudes more depending on the use. Like a single family home is less than 1 trip per day at peak hours, but you get commercial and it could be 100 trips. If you just look at Walmart and how many people drive around there versus coming out of like the Grassville apartments. But the point is, like, generally for multifamily, at least you have to have like 350 units before it gets to 2,000 trips a day. But a pretty small retail development will trigger it pretty quick. So if I'm just going to make assumptions here, but if they go to the county with a 47 unit townhome development, their county is going to say this doesn't meet the threshold unless they've significantly lowered their trip count. But I'm pretty sure they're still 2,000. They might have dropped it to 1,000, but this probably won't even be 1,000 trips. So there's likely, at least as just a townhome project, if they move on and gain approvals for, commercial and stuff, that may trigger a TIA. But as a 47 unit townhome development, I'm sure it wouldn't. And the county, I mean, we meet with them monthly. They don't have plans for Old 20. They're aware of it. They talk about it. They're kind of long range planners are trying to push to have some improvements done there, but it's a ways off, like more than 5 years.
Okay.
But are we doing our due diligence for everyone that lives in the city and is impacted by traveling that road? Those are the kind of things that I have to ask myself, especially when doing a business, is how this is going to be impacting the users for this. So I'm still having a hard time that there wasn't a lot of effort that has been put into with the concerns that the public has continued to make. So if no other comments, discussions, or questions, I will entertain a motion for agenda item number 4 or any just a reminder, our Motions can be considerations, discussions, or any possible action for your motions.
I'll make a motion that we deny item number 4.
I'll second it.
It has been properly moved to deny approval for agenda item number 4 by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Vice Chair Pius. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item number 5. We will have Commissioner Leonard to rejoin us. For agenda item number 5, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a subdivision short form final plot for Rialto Ford subdivision 1 lot on 19.69 acres, more or less, and being located at 10507 East Highway 290, Maynard, Texas.
I'd like to move that we approve item number 5.
I'll second it.
It has been properly moved to approve agenda item number 5 by Commissioner Meyer, second by Vice Chair Pies. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item number 6, consideration, discussion, and possible action to move the November 8th, 2023 regular scheduled meeting for Planning and Zoning Commission. So it looks like there is a event in Corpus Christi, I guess, that the city will be attending.
Potentially.
Can we go?
I can ask the city manager if it's
Okay.
available. But yes.
I will decline my invitation.
Yeah, it's the American Planning Association. They have statewide chapters. So this is the Texas American Planning Association annual conference. But it falls the first day of it on P&Z date. And so Michael, my planning coordinator, and I are looking to attend, but we're requesting if you're available to move this meeting potentially to Monday evening. Would be the 6th.
I'm available the 6th or 7th, either one.
So we're talking, to move it to election day?
The day before, the 7th,
Okay.
that would be a travel day. So I wouldn't be here in the evening of the 7th.
I will. I have vacation planned, so I'm not available any of that week. So I will go with the majority.
Which week are we talking about?
November 8th is for our next meeting.
Okay.
And some consideration is to have the meeting for that Tuesday,
Monday
Monday.
on the 6th.
The 6th.
You could also move it, the following week. City Council meets on the 15th. I'm not sure if they have anything before that, but I was suggesting to keep it in the same week, but you're free to move it to the following week as well too.
So we could move it to the 14th or the 13th.
Yes.
Would they vote on something then the same night? Like, let's say something comes up for us and then it comes up for them, and then
Yes.
how do you do that? Like, if
Mhm.
we deny something in a super majority, how did their agenda's already set and they have to vote without knowing what we did? Or I mean, I would rather meet when they meet, because then we could really work together. You know what I mean? I think it'd be awesome. I wish we met every time, but I understand why we don't, because sometimes these things take till late. So I mean, would it mess things up if we had it on the same night?
No, we've done that before.
You're right.
The only issue is I'd have to verify there's nothing beforehand.
It's like discretionary. You'd have to.
Well, they have the Public Facilities Corporation. Sometimes they have committee meetings beforehand. Like on the 1st is their Parks Committee meeting. So they frequently have things at 6 or 5:30 before their 7 o'clock meetings.
And maybe just another thing to think about if we have a SIF, if we need to have one for November.
Thank you. That
That's
is
right.
correct. Yes.
You're right. I cannot do Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I could do a Monday.
I can do Monday the 13th.
I can too.
I can make that work.
Okay. Is that okay?
Thumbs up. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
13. Okay.
All right. Is there any action items we want to take?
Oh, I'm sorry. Still at 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah, if you'll just motion for that date and time, please.
I move that we move next month's meeting to Monday, November 13th at 6:30 p.m.
I'll second.
It has been properly moved by Commissioner Leonard and second by Commissioner Meyer to move our November meeting to Monday, November 13th at 6:30 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have now reached the end of our meeting and we do not need to vote on adjournment. So I will call this meeting to close at 7:57 p.m.